Hello, dear friends and neutrally inclined persons, and to heck with the enemy. I want to share a little thought that I happened upon when contemplating a few developments, some as fresh as 3 days ago, namely the Puerto Rico referendum that at least the the people of Puerto Rico, the part of the population of the island that came to that referendum, uh, decidedly voted for the statehood, that is for joining United States of America as the possibly 51st state of its federation, and some other events that have been ongoing at least since election or since swearing in of Donald J. Trump as the 45th president of United States. Um, I think what we are seeing and probably are going to be seeing for a while now, and I think it does not even depend on who is going to be our president, whether it's going to be Trump or Pence or Ryan or a Democrat that displaces them in 3 years or maybe sooner. Everything is possible. Uh, I think we're going to see, instead of total abandoning of process of globalization and worldwide universal integration that Donald Trump kind of vowed to exercise, instead of total abandoning of process of globalization, we are going to see a new globalization, new type of globalization, if you will, global Americanization. We are going to see, instead of the globalization that treated every or near every of its actors and subjects, even United States, the as of yet most powerful country and most powerful economy in the world, as a kind of a fuel, a kind of biomass that exists only towards certain goals, such as creating some kind of unified, averaged, uh, common worldwide human identity, human political system, economic system, and so on. And that often obscured the idea of the countries in question, in particular United States, needing to get something out of this process of globalization. I think that type of globalization is going to be gone. United States is not going to be a sort of worldwide Uber driver anymore, which is expected to lead the rest of the world, but only to lead the rest of the world where the rest of the world wants to go. United States is going to take charge of affairs, take matters into its own hands once again, as it has done a few times in history before. And it's going to do basically what's good first and foremost for United States, which in my opinion usually, if not always, coincides with what's good for the rest of the world too. United States is going to acquire new territories in a totally legal manner, and I really hope that even the most conservative Republicans in our Congress and in our generally in our political system cast off the doubts about accepting Puerto Rico because it's a economically troubled region, or because it's a Latino region, or because it's a region that's dominated supposedly by Democrats. After all, first off, Puerto Ricans already vote. They're already American citizens and they vote in the primaries, although somehow not in the final elections. They are a very attractive land. Also, I have read that Wall Street is looking to buy much property in Puerto Rico in the wake of this recent referendum. So they are as troubled as they are attractive economically. And as far as the area, the region being mostly Democrat dominated, you approve their entrance into the federation and you sway them your way, or at least dent that democratic domination significantly. So United States is going to get at least a 51st state out of this process. Sometime down the line, I would not be surprised if were, say, Canada to split up, and I think it's going to split up. I think Quebec is going to wind up as independent nation, and it's going to split the English-speaking parts of Canada in two. I think at least some of those parts of English-speaking Canada also are at some point gonna enter United States Union. Um, I think also what we're seeing worldwide is a very interesting process of advancement of American brands or brands considered purely American in different fields in economy, in entertainment, and sports. And I think this process has kind of uh, increased since Mr. Trump assumed presidency. Of course, it's been going on for a while anyway, but it has increased. Entities such as World Wrestling Federation, whose owner is Vince McMahon Jr., a close associate and friend of Donald Trump, and they a few years ago, a dozen years ago or so, even did a program together where Trump wound up, of course, shaving Mr. McMahon bald. Um, WWE is branching out into United Kingdom, into Europe, into Australia, other parts of the world. National Football League also is branching out into Mexico and China. And when before you could say that some sports, some worldwide popular sports such as baseball, volleyball, uh, or some forms of cultural activity, in particular in music, musicals, jazz, rock music, originated in the United States, but they kind of eventually and quite quickly lost their purely American flavor and became universally accepted and universally acclaimed. Many other countries, England in rock and roll, France, and many other places in Europe in jazz, uh, Japan also. If you take sports, basketball, the world, the non-American basketball world for decades lived totally its own life, very rarely crossing with the American uh, game. And even to this day, they have separate competitions, back, especially over there in Europe. Uh, so you could say that basketball is not necessarily seen in the world as an American influence. Um, Volleyball was also invented in the United States, but other than in beach volleyball, United States almost never was successful on professional level, on competitive level. So you could say that these are American inventions that have not been perceived as American for a while. But with baseball, with advent of Baseball World Classic, uh, which has been played for I believe 12 years now, and just recently for the first time was won by United States, with already mentioned NFL or WWE, with Mr. Trump's attempts, at least pretending to try further the interests of American companies, American brands all over the world, and to try to kind of tip the scale of economic relations with some other powerful economies out there, such as Chinese or German. We know that this current rift with Germany was caused not in the less turn by Trump calling German export policies very bad. And many people say that Germany does lead an economic policy that facilitates exporting German goods and selling them to other nations. That Germany has led an economic policy that basically has turned other countries into markets for selling German goods, and that while it may serve consumers in those countries, it does not necessarily serve the producers and other interests and actors in those countries. So, sorry. So, in all those respects, you could say that globalization American style is a globalization that aims to serve the interests of America itself. Uh, Whether it's good or bad is subject to debate. But I think, as I said in the beginning, we're already seeing a shift in the world economic globalization integration processes. Those processes are not going to be fully abandoned and stopped. They are just being kind of reconfigured, if you will, and reset. That has been my musing on what is going on in terms of globalization. I will be waiting for possible reaction, uh, comments, and other forms of appreciation or non appreciation of the above made statements. Thank you and have a good day.